This isn't the Burkina Faso most people remember. For years, Burkina Faso was known for military coups, terrorism, poverty, and one of the weakest industrial economies in West Africa. International headlines rarely focused on development. Instead, they spoke of insecurity, humanitarian crisis, and political uncertainty. But over the past few years, something different has started to emerge. Across the country, new roads are stretching into regions that were once difficult to reach. Massive bridges are connecting communities, factories are opening their doors, farmers are receiving modern equipment, a state-of-art university hospital is improving healthcare, and for the first time in decades, the government is putting serious emphasis on producing more goods inside the country instead of relying on heavy imports. Supporters see these projects as the beginning of new era. Some people argue that many challenges still remains, but whichever side you stand on, one thing is difficult to ignore. Burkina Faso is changing. One might ask, how true are these changes? And could they reshape the country's future? Today, we are taking you inside some of the Burkina Faso's biggest development projects of 2026. From factories and highways to hospitals and agriculture. We will explore how these investments could influence the country's economy for years to come. Let's begin. Building more than just factories. Every country that hopes to grow its economy eventually faces the same challenges. It is not enough to produce raw materials. You also have to manufacture finished products. For many years, Burkina Faso exported cotton, tomatoes, and gold while importing many of the products made from those same resources. That meant much of the profit, jobs, and industrial growth happened outside the country. Now, the government wants to change that. Instead of simply exporting raw materials, Burkina Faso is investing in industries that can produce those resources at home. The goal is straightforward: create jobs, support local businesses, reduce imports, and keep money circulating within the national economy. One project attracting attention is the Safer Tomato Processing Factory in Yako. Every harvest season, thousands of tons of tomatoes are produced by local farmers. Without enough processing facilities, a large portion of that harvest could spoil before reaching consumers. The Sofato factory is helping solve that problem. Rather than selling only fresh tomatoes, farmers now have a growing market for processed products such as tomato paste. That means more stable demand, less waste, and greater income from farming communities. At the same time, locally produced products can gradually reduce the country's dependence on imported tomato paste. It is a simple idea, but one that could have a lasting impact on both agriculture and manufacturing. Construction is also driving another major industrial investment, which bet the Sinfaso cement factory. As Burkina Faso builds more roads, bridges, schools, hospitals, and public buildings, the demand for cement continues to rise. Now, instead of importing as much cement from abroad, the country is increasing its own production capability. Producing cement locally not only supports major construction projects, but also creates employment and strengthens the supply chain for the growing infrastructure sector. Another industry in the spotlight are the textile industry. Burkina Faso is one of Africa's important cotton producing nations. Yet, for decades, much of that cotton left the country before being turned into clothing or finished fabrics. Products such as Golden Hand Textile Factory are helping reverse that trend, transforming locally ground cotton into finished products within Burkina Faso. That creates values at every stage, from farmers growing the cotton to factory workers producing garments and businesses selling locally made clothing. As we dive to the most strategic project of all, pushing forward in refining more of its own gold. Burkina Faso is among African leading gold producers, but for years, much of that gold has been exported for processing abroad. By expanding domestic refining capability, the government hopes to keep more of its industrial values inside the country, create skilled jobs, and strengthen the mining sector contribution to the national economy. Take individually, this project may seem unrelated, but together, they reveal as much larger strategy. Now, instead of relying mainly on exported raw materials, Burkina Faso is attempting to build an economy that produces, processes, and manufactures more of its own goods. Factories alone won't transform a nation overnight, but they are laying the foundation for something much bigger. And for those factories to succeed, they need one thing above all: a modern transport network. That's where the country's next wave of development begins. Stay with us. As we all know, factories can produce goods, but without reliable roads, getting those products to market becomes slow, expensive, and sometimes impossible. For many years, poor road network limited trades in parts of Burkina Faso. While the rainy season, some communities become difficult to reach, increasing transportation costs for businesses and making it harder for farmers to sell their produce. Improving the country's transport network has therefore become one of the government's biggest priorities. Under the Faso Mebo initiatives, Burkina Faso has increased investment in highways, urban roads, and bridges with the aim of connecting communities and supporting economic activity. One of the most notable projects is the Heredugu Bridge. For the communities that depends on it, this bridge is much more than a concrete structure. It provides a safer and faster crossing, making it easier for people to travel, children to reach schools, and businesses to move goods throughout the region. Projects like these may not always attract international headlines. Road construction is also expanding in several parts of the country. New paved roads and rehabilitation of old roads are helping improve transport between cities and rural communities. For farmers, better roads means crops can reach market more quickly before they spoil. For businesses, lower transportation costs can improve profitability. And for ordinary citizens, shorter travel times make it easy to access schools, hospitals, and government services. The government has also invested in road construction equipment, allowing more projects to be carried out using national resources. Officials say this approach could reduce cost while building local expertise in public works. Although many of these projects are still underway, together they represent one of the country's largest investments in transport infrastructure in recent years. Economic growth means little if people cannot access quality healthcare. Recognizing this, Burkina Faso has continued investing in healthcare infrastructure alongside its industrial and transport projects. One of the most important healthcare investments is the Bobo Dioulasso University Hospital. Designed as a modern teaching and referral hospital, the facility is expected to improve access to specialized healthcare for people living in Western Burkina Faso. Instead of traveling long distance or even leaving the country for certain treatments, more patients can receive advanced medical care closer at home. The hospital includes modern operating theaters, allowing doctors to perform more complex surgical procedures in safer conditions. Its emergency department is designed to respond more quickly to accident victims and other critical medical cases, where every minute can make a difference. Advanced diagnostic equipment also help doctors detect illness earlier and make more accurate treatment decisions. For patients requiring intensive medical attention, the hospital intensive care unit provides continuous monitoring and life support service for the most serious cases. Beyond treating patients, facilities like these also strengthen medical education by training future doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals. Modern hospitals create skilled jobs, improve public health, and reduce pressure on older medical facilities. In many ways, they represent an investment not only in healthcare, but in the country's human capital. But while hospitals save lives, another sector helps sustain them every single day. No country can build a strong economy without a strong agricultural sector. In Burkina Faso, agriculture remains the backbone of the economy, employing a large share of the population and providing food for millions of people. Yet, for many years, farmers face similar challenges: limited access to modern equipment, unreliable rainfall, and difficult getting their products to market. To address this issue, the government has increased investment in agriculture with the goal of improving productivity and moving the country closer to food self-sufficiency. One of the biggest changes has been the introduction of more tractors and modern farming equipment. Mechanized farming allows farmers to cultivate large areas of land in less time, reduce manual labor, and increase efficiency. At the same time, new irrigation projects are helping farmers produce crops beyond the rainy season. Instead of depending entirely on unpredictable weather, access to irrigations can support more consistent harvest throughout the year. Tomato farmers has also received renewed attention As local processing factories like the Sofato tomato processing factory expands, farmers now have a stronger domestic market for their products. This creates opportunities to increase productions while reducing the country's reliance on imported tomato products. The government is also supporting the cultivation of stamp crops such as maize, rice, millet, and sorghum. These crops are essential for food security and play an important role in reducing the risk of food shortage. If this effort continues, agriculture could become one of the most source of food, but also a stronger driver of economic growth, creating jobs and supporting industries that rely locally on produce raw materials. Burkina Faso is rich in natural resources, particularly gold. For years, gold has been one of the major country's largest exports and a major source of national income. However, much of that gold has traditionally been refined outside the country, meaning a significant part of its value was added elsewhere. To change this, Burkina Faso has been working to expand its domestic gold refining capabilities. The idea is simple. Instead of exporting raw gold, refine more of it at home. This could create skilled jobs, support local industries, and allow a greater share of mining sector economy benefits to remain within the country. Supporters believe this strategy could strengthen Burkina Faso's economy over the long term by encouraging industrial development rather than relying solely on exports of raw materials. Of course, success will depend on continued investment, effective management, and maintaining confidence in country's mining sector. When you look at these projects individually, a bridge, a hospital, a factory, a road, an irrigation scheme, they may seem like separate developments, but together they tell a much bigger story. Burkina Faso is trying to build foundation of a more self-reliant economy. Factories are creating opportunities to produce local resources. Roads and bridges are improving transportation and connecting communities. Hospitals are expanding access to healthcare. Agriculture is becoming more modern through mechanized and irrigation. An effort to refine more of each country's mineral wealth at home aim to keep more economic value within Burkina Faso. That doesn't mean every challenge has been solved. Security remains a serious concern in parts of the country. Many projects are still under construction, and economic pressure continue to affect businesses and households. The true impact of this investment will only become clear over time. But one thing is already evident. Burkina Faso is investing in infrastructure, industry, healthcare, and agriculture on a scale that is attracting attentions across Africa. Whether these efforts ultimately transform the country's future will depend not only on the projects themselves, but also on how they are maintained, expanded, and supported in many years ahead. For now, Burkina Faso is rewriting a new chapter in its development story, and the rest of Africa is watching closely. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications so you never miss our next in-depth results. Thank you for watching. We see you in our next documentary.